Hello everybody, I am back for this video. I'm not making any commitments to make a lot more content, but I've decided, why not just make videos when I feel like it, when I feel like talking about something. So this video is about something here in Nicaragua, but don't expect a whole bunch of Nicaragua videos. I'm not committing to that. But I've had a couple experiences recently that have really challenged the narrative of what I used to believe about police in particular. And having spent most of my young adult life in the United States, I was used to a very different kind of policing. So in this video, I want to talk to you about some of the differences in the way that the police are run here in Nicaragua, and I'll get into some generals of experiences I've had where I've seen things that have happened with locals. Now that I've been here, I've lived in Nicaragua for like 6 years, so I've gotten a better sense of sort of how things are, at least here in Managua. I don't know about more rural areas or elsewhere in the country, so keep in mind everything that I'm gonna tell you in the rest of this video is from my personal experiences, subject to all the biases and etc. But I think that this is an important video to make because I've been told a lot of falsehoods, especially about being in Nicaragua, and one in particular is this notion from the West that police and jails in Latin America as a whole, all of the South America, Central America, Latin America is absolutely horrible, the worst places in the world. At least here in Nicaragua, I can tell you it's absolutely not like that. The way the police are here is something that I didn't understand at first, but I've really come to respect the police here. And I've had experiences with police where they actually made me feel safe. And then afterwards, I would go like, whoa, 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 wait a second. I've interacted with police before. Why is this the first time I actually feel safe? Like, I feel like I trust them and they're protecting me. And okay, so like maybe if you're used to being in other countries, that doesn't sound crazy to you. But if any of you were American and you just heard me say that, like, oh, I trust the police and I think they're trying to protect me, like it's a joke, right? Like in the US, what I was used to was like, if you're alone and a cop's there, you better behave because they can kill you. Like they could just shoot you. And like, yeah, so in the US, the cops definitely have a racism problem. Absolutely. If you're black and you just look the wrong way, there's video of plenty of times where people literally just get shot. They open the door, the police officer shoots them because they think they have a gun, or they actually have a gun because they have a legal right to, that happens all the time. So in the US, if you're around a police officer, you have to be careful because like they could just kill you. I know that sounds extreme, but it's true, and it actually happens. And like, I obviously didn't have any kind of experiences like that in the US, but I can definitely tell you I did not feel safe around police. Like that was definitely not a thing. It was like very much if they were around, something really bad could happen. That was the impression. And like they're very quick to put their hands on their weapons, and some police they're soldiers. Like I didn't understand that because, again, this is what I'll get into in this video. There's so many things about how police are run in Nicaragua now that I've seen, and I've seen how they do certain things. It just makes so much more sense than the way we do it, which is basically like, we used to have a police system kind of like in Nicaragua, like maybe like 60, 70 years ago in the US. But then after like the Vietnam War and this sort of era, we basically militarized everybody and gave them a bunch of weapons. And there was also, there's issues with racism and all this, but the point's that our police force became very militant, incredibly militant. And here it's funny because it's not that they don't look militant. Like, especially as a foreigner, when you first come to the country, you'll see people, like you'll see the police with assault rifles and all sorts of stuff, right? Like that'll be a common sight in certain areas. You definitely see a show of force, right? so that it makes it easy to think that they're just as militaristic as the US because there is this image of force. But then when you actually start interacting with police and like seeing how they handle issues, it's a completely different perspective. So one of the things I've noticed that's very obvious is that here, okay, I don't train police. I don't know how they're trained or anything in Nicaragua. So I'm telling you things that are based on my observations as somebody who is used to the US system. Keep that in mind. But from what I can tell, police here are very, very rarely alone. In general, it seems to be like frowned upon to have just a police person there. Usually it's like a team of them. And there's this notion of teamwork and camaraderie and like working together as a team. So like when the US has like a cop with a bunch of guns and a fancy car and then they have like a backup buddy, you know, maybe there's a second cop. I think by standard there's always two cops, right? A second cop shows up. But the US has a bunch of individual cops rolling around with weaponry and fancy cars and shit, right? Whereas in Nicaragua, it's like a whole team of police. So you'll have like 4 or 5 police officers in one vehicle. And they'll usually have a female so that, like, you know, they don't have to deal with the thing of like when you search somebody. It's weird if it's like a straight man searching a woman, that kind of thing. So that there's little things that they do to make sure that they kind of have a catch for each situation. And I even saw them arrest someone once. I was just walking around in the street. This was years ago. And it was so fascinating because in the US, like, we can arrest people pretty violently sometimes. I'm not saying we always do, but it's definitely like a thing, right? And here, it's not that it wasn't violent. It's just like instead of putting the risk on one person, they basically had like 15 people just surround this other guy. And I saw the whole thing unfold. And they did it without like putting any of the individual police officers in more danger. So they acted like this kind of cohesive group that just surrounded the person and gave them no choice. They couldn't, you know, attack one of them or something. And it was kind of shocking to me because it showed yet again how here people have more of a notion of like working together and coordinating, whereas in the US we've just outsourced that. Like we don't do that part. And so another example I'll give of how this plays out is just how the police here are, like their sort of vibe. At first they can be kind of gruff, right? Especially if they don't know you, they haven't seen your face before or something, that they might not trust you straight away. But after you've shown your face a couple times and talked to them, um, I don't know. The police here seem really personable. Like they're often just like younger men from the country, and they went to Managua to get a better job, and the government can pay them better than other things. And like it's really obvious that they're not there. At least the people I've interacted with, and I've interacted with a bunch of police because I used to live like near one of the perimeters. So I literally interacted with the guards on a daily basis, and the guards were on a rotation. So like I interacted with loads and loads of different police officers or people who worked for the police, right? And these were the fancier police. These were the ones with the assault rifles and who were very intimidating looking. They look like soldiers. And so I really got a sense for how they kind of are. And it's so different than in the United States. Like it's so fundamentally different. And what it's shown me is that here, police are more how they're supposed to be. Where like, let's say there's somebody who's dangerous and they have a weapon. The police here aren't just going to immediately shoot them. Like, even though in the US, like, oh, you do that. You kill the threat before it kills someone, right? That's the mentality. Kill them before they kill you. Whereas in Nicaragua, they don't want to kill people. Like, I get that with the protests and everything and all of the politics and all of the propaganda, that's a controversial statement. But I can tell you from living here and personal experience, observing interactions with police, they are a force that seems trained to de-escalate situations. And they seem more like when you actually call the police and like one of the things shows up and you know you have to talk to them and that kind of thing, they seem a lot more like detectives than like big military people, if that makes sense. And like I said, in the situations that I've been in, I mean, I've seen many things happen with police in my life to other people, and been around police in these things. I've never really gotten in like legal trouble per se. I've been around situations and had things happen, but I've never gotten. I've been pretty behaved for the most part, right? So I guess I speak too openly about things, right? This is how I misbehave. But I'm telling you this because like I didn't feel safe before. I really didn't. Especially in the U.S. Maybe it would have been different in other countries because, like, smaller countries are just more chill. Like the people and police aren't as intense, right? Whereas, like, when you're in the U.S., especially in a place like New York or Los Angeles, like, oof, it can be really rough there, definitely. Um, so in some ways, the police sort of have to be more militant, right? And that's the thing is like I'm not going to say that I know how things should be. I'm just going to tell you based on my experiences how it feels, and I see that the way the police in Nicaragua are, I think is how police actually should be. And that means specifically that they put their life at risk to protect others, okay? If you're a police officer and there's a threat that comes out and you immediately shoot that threat to kill it before it hurts anyone else, you're not putting your life at risk. You're just a murderer. And it's a justified state murder, so it's okay. You know, you might get transferred. You're not going to get in trouble. You just have to live with that on your conscience, right? But it's very different. Whereas here, like, they literally, they try, from their perspective, it's better to take that time and risk yourself getting hurt just to make sure that you're damn certain this person is actually dangerous. The mentality is you should risk yourself instead of assuming that this other person needs to die. And the police officers seem very trained to not put themselves in unnecessary risk in these group dynamics. And it's really impressed me. Like I have to tell you, I'm not somebody who like has ever felt that comfortable around police, again, as I mentioned. But here I can tell you that I have come to feel comfortable around the police here. And obviously, like, I'm a foreigner, I'll be treated a bit better in some situations. But even with that being said, like, I can honestly tell you, I feel more safe around police in Nicaragua. Like, I genuinely feel that way. And I've seen interactions with other locals where I see that it's not like they were just being fake to me, if that makes sense. Like, I've seen things that have happened where nobody knows I make videos, nobody knows I'm even involved in the situations, because like I have friends and other people, and they go through things and they tell me what happened, right? And like that's what I'm telling you, is that they're nowhere near as violent. And I wanted to make this video just because it's so sad seeing all of these lies about Nicaragua, and especially these days. I mean, we're peddling all this propaganda about all sorts of other stuff. So we're just surrounded in these notions that things are a certain way, and then I can tell you from experience living here, it's bullshit. It's not true. If anything, some of the countries that you're told are horrible, you know, unless we're actively waging war there right now, some of those countries are actually better, you know? They're actually more peaceful than what you're used to. And that's why you're hearing that they're so bad, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how to explain all of the propaganda, to be honest, because it's so far reaching, and it, like, my whole life should just be completely impossible, really. Um, if all those things were true, like, how is it that I can be here and have a more fulfilling life than I did in the US? How is it that all these things can be true? You know, like, I've had comments say that I'm like a Sandinista puppet in these things, and it's funny because like I've never like spoken to nobody here would take me seriously. Like, that is so funny. Like, I'm just some random foreigner who makes videos, and some Nicaraguan people, like, who either know English or like met me, or they use the transcribe feature, then like they might like like my personality, or that I'm here in their country or here in your country if you're one of those people. But like I know I'm not someone who dresses all nice and has like a reputation for being super serious and went to all the schools, and like I don't have any of that. I don't have any kind of credibility whatsoever. And in no way am I trying to prove anything to you. I'm just telling you what my experience has been like, because I don't think other people will share this kind of thing. So maybe that's what I'm here to do, right? Share the things that other people aren't necessarily ready to talk about yet. So in that way, this was fun, and I think the dogs are saying it's time for this particular video to end. So I will do so. If you want to learn about anything or just hear me banter about something, just comment below. I don't do the consultations anymore. In general, I'm going through sort of like redoing things in my life where I look at why I do stuff, and anytime I do anything out of fear, to stop it and just let go, because I understand now that our whole world, basically, we're surrounded by people who are constantly deciding out of fear over and over and over again. They're deciding out of moments of stress and fear and uncertainty. So if you can identify the parts of yourself that are prone to doing this and just let go of them, then you can gain a perspective that is different than other people. And when you have this difference, it allows you to do things or say things that other people can't find the words to say, or can't do in a way where people will actually listen to them, right? So in that way, I'm not really sure what kind of videos I'll make on this channel or anything. I'll share a little bit of context about my life right now, just so that you understand. If you're listening at this point, hello, thanks for watching this far. So basically, because of Valheim and this other YouTube channel, I've gotten an opportunity to get much more deeply entrenched with some of the really talented and educated people in the Valheim community. And it's really opened my mind and my the potential for things that I can learn about and the networking that I can do. I'm in a position now where I can get interviews with people who are in the industry pretty easily. And I'm not saying I can talk to anybody, but it's like that I've just been learning so much from people and been able to share so many things. So I can tell how like there's this other thing that's building, and like really that's where my focus is at the moment. So that's why I'm saying like I'm not going to make more Nicaragua videos. I'm really not, because I need to focus on this other stuff so that I can like empower myself to be in a position where like no matter what happens, it's all right. You know, like for a lot of my life, I just kind of skated by because I didn't really care about myself. But over the past couple of years, I've learned to gain habits of really caring more for myself and being more loving to myself. And this has enabled me to be much more caring for other people, and also just in general live a more fulfilling life. But I don't have that same kind of drive in me to show things to people and to make a lot of videos in that way. So at least for now, probably most of my attention will go to the Valheim channel. But anyway, you can still comment below. I might make a video if it's something you are interested in. It would just have to be something like this, where I just basically just talk about something and there's not that much editing and it's not that high effort, right? All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!